Hi, everybody. This is Cindy from MobileMoxie, and we're coming to you with another MobileMoxie Roundtable. This week, we're going to be talking about agency SEO and all the things that have changed during COVID, what stayed the same, and just what it's like to run an SEO agency or be part of a large SEO agency. So we have people from very large agencies, middle and small with us, our three VIP guests that I am super excited to talk to. We have Abby Hamilton from Merkle, we have Jamar Ramos from Crunchy Links, and we have Mike King from iPullRank. These guys are awesome, and we had a bunch of fun recording this. Now, I will tell you, the video sometimes cuts a little bit from one thought to the next, because in the beginning we had a bomber, someone uninvited who joined the call and played some nice Michael Jackson music for us. So we had to cut that out. We don't want to get YouTube mad at us for playing Michael Jackson, but enjoy the roundtable. Let's get into it. So if you're just joining us, please go ahead and mute yourself unless you're talking. Here are some rules of the road for a MobileMoxie roundtable. The idea here is we just want to get some smart people together and have a chat. But we encourage you guys to participate, share your thoughts, ask questions and stuff like that. I'll try and call on people, especially the experts, and then I'll open every question up to the rest of the group. So that'll be your time to unmute yourself and chime in, unless you're an expert, in which case talk over each other, argue, say whatever you want to say. It's no big deal. We're just here to chat and have fun. We are recording this. So don't say anything you might regret, and let's get started. So we have three experts with us today that I'm very excited to be talking to, and these are people, I think most people know Mike King, but I want to let Abby and Jamar introduce, well, everyone's going to introduce themselves. Let's start with Abby and Jamar, and then we'll let Mike round it out. So Abby, you go first. Tell us about yourself and your experience as an agency SEO.
Okay, so wow, that's a good way to come out, get the energy going. I'm Abby Hamilton. I've been working at Merkle for over 3 years now, starting out as a SEO specialist and now as a associate SEO manager.
Nice. And tell us, throw in your favorite ice cream.
My favorite ice cream, it's the American Dream by Ben & Jerry's.
So Abby, American Dream has caramel and what else?
Chocolate covered waffle cone. And it's all in vanilla ice cream.
That sounds delicious. All right, Jamar, tell us about yourself and being an agency SEO and in your company, because I think people have heard of Merkle, but I'm not sure everyone's heard of Crunchy Links. And then tell us about your favorite ice cream.
Let's see. I started in SEO. I stumbled into it accidentally. I got my creative writing degree from SF State, and I realized that with self-publishing, there was no way I was going to make a living off of writing. So I started looking around where I could get, a big boy job, and found this company that was looking for writers who had a background in SEO. And so I did a little bit of research about what SEO was and just went into the interview, told them the truth. Like, I've got a degree in creative writing, but I know nothing about SEO. But if you're willing to work with me, I promise you'll have a good employee. And they totally fell for it. And they hired me. And I've been working in digital marketing for the last 8 years ever since.
And then you reached out to me, or I reached out to you because you said you want to get on some stages. And I was like, I don't have a stage, but I have a conference call that apparently gets bombed. I'm going to at least give you a chance.
Yeah, it's like I've been doing 8 years, and you see all those people. It's like, oh, if you want to speak in SEO, do these 8 things. And I'm like, okay, I've been doing these 8 things for 8 years. So obviously it's not me, it's you. And so seeing and getting this opportunity was awesome, because it's like I have what it takes, and just the getting onto the stage or onto the bombed out platform to speak is all that I need.
And what does Crunchy Links do?
We do SEO, we do content creation and marketing. We'll do social media consultation. We do affiliate marketing. We also do paid advertising. So you're pretty much one-stop shop for any sort of digital marketing needs you need from an agency while being able to have that full touch persona because we are a small shop. So you're not going to be handed off to a customer success manager. The people who are doing the work, who are talking to you during the sales calls, who talk to you during the discovery calls, are also going to be the ones on the reporting calls. So whoever you're talking to from the beginning is who you'll talk to at the middle and the end with us.
Nice. We do that too. Direct to an expert, no account managers, because I don't dig account managers usually.
Yeah, I want to know if the work is being done, that I've touched it in some kind of way, whether it be getting what you need from the client, whether it be talking to someone who works for us and getting the work. And then I want to be able to report back, because any of the questions our clients need answers, I want to be able to look them in the eye and give them an answer, or give them a, hey, I'll get back to you. And they know that I'll get back to you isn't sort of obfuscating or scrambling for time. It's, oh, you know what? I wasn't fully prepared for that question, but I will get you a fully fleshed out answer.
All right. Favorite ice cream?
The only right answer, Rocky Road.
It's true. It's the right answer.
The only correct answer.
Do you also like vinegar, salt and vinegar potato chips?
Okay, that's where we have to split.
Oh.
We were building up a best friendship right there, and then all of a sudden I had to take the road less traveled.
Fine, I'll eat them all. I won't share. All right, Mike, your turn. Tell us about yourself, being an agency SEO, and don't forget favorite ice cream. It can also be Rocky Road.
Well, I am a Virgo. I was born in Philadelphia. No, I love account managers. No, my name's Mike King. I run an agency called iPullRank. We're a digital marketing agency primarily focused on technical SEO and content strategy based in New York. And I haven't seen my office in months. I live in Brooklyn. And my favorite ice cream it depends on the composition of each, but it's either going to be something cookie dough related or vanilla chocolate chip. So I'm not with you on the Rocky Road. I'm sorry.
I'm all about as many toppings, and the ice cream just binds it together.
That's a lot. I'm not really with that.
All right, and you live in New York. Do you live in the closet?
Right now, yes, I do. I feel like when I sit not in the closet, it's like such a weird flex because my apartment's so dope. So it's better if I just sit in the closet.
It's true. This call is bombed out, so you may as well be protected away from all the beautiful glass and scenery in the closet.
My apartment is so dope. It's such a great flex.
His apartment is dope, though.
Like, now I gotta show you guys.
This is like just turning into an episode of House Hunters.
I'm so glad we continued with this. This is great.
All right, Dean. While he's getting ready for the tour, let's advance to question 1. All right.
That's my view.
Wow.
Can you see that?
Great view.
Woo.
Told you it's a flex.
Okay. You're right. Your apartment is dope, bro.
All right. Let's start with you, Abby. In your opinion, what's the biggest difference between agency SEO and in-house? And with that question comes the implied question, have you ever been an in-house SEO? Have you done anything different, or are you just guessing?
Well, so I will start off. I've never done in-house SEO, but I will say what I think's great about agency SEO. I think it's just like a great place to start your SEO career, a great way to get experience. You get to like just work on so many different things. I mean, one day you might just be writing meta descriptions, and the next day you're creating a whole international strategy, and you get a lot of experience with like different types of websites and a lot of unique problems that different clients face, just based on like every website's so different. So I think you get a lot of really great experience through agency, and it's pretty much described by that meme with the dog on fire. So you're just always like in 20 different places at once.
Agency SEO?
Yeah, agency SEO. It's fine. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's a great experience, and you just get to experience so many different clients and see what makes every website unique, and see a lot of different potential issues, and get a really well-rounded knowledge of SEO through agency.
Nice. All right, Mike, back from the closet. What's the biggest difference? Have you ever worked in-house, or you've only worked with in-house SEOs?
So I worked in house. I worked at Microsoft once. I worked at a small company that did like basement waterproofing and stuff like that. So I have some in-house experience, but most of my experience is agency side. And the main difference is it basically depends on what type of company it is. You know, if you work at a startup, it's probably very similar to being an agency SEO. Whereas if you work in an enterprise company, everything moves so slow that you're mostly just chilling, and you kind of lean on your agency people to like be the people running around with their hair on fire. So yeah, I think it just depends. And it also comes down to like how much of a priority SEO is in the organization. Because again, if you're working at an enterprise, let's say you're like a brand manager or a marketing manager at a big company, you know, it's just one of the many things that you do, and you spend more time just having meetings about meetings than actually doing work. Whereas when you're agency SEO, it's like, all right, how do we actually make this happen? Or if we're not making it happen directly, how do we scope it out and put together the recommendations for people so that they can then make it happen? And then you're chasing those people around. So they're just very different jobs, and it just depends on the type of company you work in.
And I'm guessing you do have agency or have account managers or account administrators. Is that right?
We have account managers, absolutely. Because
And how do you make it awesome? Because I know that you guys are awesome, but not every account manager is awesome. So what does it take to have an awesome account manager?
yeah, I mean, I think it just has to be a clear separation of concerns as far as like what the work is, right? So like, you know, we work in a pod structure. So for us, a pod is an account manager, content strategist, SEO person, and an analyst. And the account manager is like, you know, it's very much about being the quarterback on the account and also representing the needs of the client within our organization, but also with the client representing the needs of our organization. So they kind of act as like both a project manager and a relationship manager so that everyone else can just focus on doing work. And that's not to say that if you're a client of ours, you're only dealing with your account manager. That's not true. It's just that the account manager is just making sure that everything is working the way that it should. And then we're meeting expectations, and clients are also meeting our expectations.
Okay. And do your account managers know SEO? They're trained up in at least SEO 101, but then they're also like super deep on the client, or are they somewhere in between?
Yeah, so we have like a base level of skill expectations for people on our team. Like you gotta know SEO, just like, you know, understand what it is, how it works, things like that. You gotta know HTML, you gotta know Google Analytics, and you know, for some other people, you also gotta know JavaScript. So like that base level of skills allows us to all have, you know, solid conversations and collect the information as required.
That's awesome. That's some pretty high standards. All right, Jamar, it sounds like your agency or your group does a lot of different things. How do you manage all of those different specialties without account managers?
Luckily, all of us have SEO experience, so we can all help each other out with that. Because we find that most of our clients need SEO help. But I am well versed in content marketing, creation, and ideation. Another one of our partners is big into affiliate marketing and PPC. So each one of us can take on one of those verticals and run it. Whereas with SEO, it's just like it's our CEO, Jack, he runs all of that. But if he goes on vacation or he needs a little bit of overflow help, I can always split off some of my time there, or Rob, our third partner, because he's not as deep into SEO as we've been in our careers, but he can still help. When we need a little bit extra help, we can flow it over to him. So we have that overflow for our biggest clients. But when it comes to more targeted clients, because they're more specialties, it doesn't really take a lot of our time. So it's usually just, okay, we use Asana to build out the tasks we have to do and then set a due date and go about that. So we're really self-sufficient because we came from a bigger agency that was super into micromanaging, and we all agreed that like we're not going to ask what you're doing minute by minute. We just care when the due date is up, have the work done at that point because everyone's going to be happier.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Now, anyone from the peanut gallery, anyone else who's on the call who wants to participate or ask these guys questions related to this one possibly, or wants to chime in with their own ideas. Alexis, I know you're here. If you have ideas, BJ, I know you've been on both sides of it. So anyone want to chime in? Questions? Thoughts? Love it? Hate it?
I love it.
You love it. Awesome. I count us as being a boutique. So that's somewhere between agency and independent one person, because we don't do the account managers, but maybe sometimes, you know, we've gotten to the point where we probably should have. But yeah. Okay, so then let's go on to the next question.
I think Alexis.
Well, Alexis has a question.
She has any tips on how to get the most out of an agency?
Oh.
Don't be a jerk. That's number one. Beyond that, I would say just like, really setting expectations, making sure that you have the right people on your side that are bought into executing on whatever it is that you've agreed to do with your agency. Because that's one of the biggest issues that I've seen in my years of running and working at agencies is that, there's a lot of paper being pushed back and forth and not enough execution. So, clarifying expectations, being clear on goals, giving them all the data and access and context that they need to put together things that are going to work for you. And just don't be a jerk. That's it.
Well, and Mike, I know somewhere on Facebook you mentioned some kind of project management software or hosted thing that you use, something.io.
No. So I don't, there's no perfect project management tool. Like we've tried a whole lot of them. We've tried like Trello, Asana. The one we use now is called Teamwork Projects. Nothing is inherently better than anything else. It's all about, do you have a process and do people adhere to that process? Because the tool doesn't do anything by itself. If people don't update their tasks or they don't put tasks in there to begin with, it doesn't matter. It really comes down to like, what are people actually going to use and what does that process look like so everybody's going to be on the same page.
So Abby, jump in here for Alexis. Any thoughts on how agencies can close the gap in execution? And a follow-up to what Mike said, how are you guys documenting your processes?
So for following like up on execution, I think like a lot of it is one, like being realistic. Don't say every recommendation you make is like the end all be all. Like you have to do every single thing. Like be realistic. Say this is the expected impact and this is the expected effort. So maybe you want to start with saying this is pretty low effort and low impact, but let's just get these out of the way. And if we do enough, we'll see some movement. Or when something's like a big high priority and it's going to make a big like movement in traffic, but it's also going to require a lot, then say that. But if you just like every recommendation they have to do, it's going to like, start taking you less seriously. So I like to just make sure you're prioritizing recommendations and also just following up when you have a recommendation that you really think is a big ticket item, making sure you're following up appropriately and just like really going out of your way to be like, hey, I noticed this hasn't gotten implemented. Do you have any questions? Sometimes like maybe they're having trouble getting buy-in with their internal team. So offering additional resources and follow-ups like, oh, well, we can like expand a business case on why we think this is important for you to do, just so they can then take that to their internal stakeholders and get that implemented.
Awesome. All right, Jamar, any final thoughts? And we'll go to the next question.
Honestly, for like I saw one about the biggest skill that you need to gain in order to work well with an agency, it's got to be like human to human connection. Like the biggest thing, especially now, it's you're talking to people. Like this is SEO is not a data game, and too many people think that it's just about reporting the data. You have to know. Like I've got on my wife's side, I've got 6 or 7 nieces and nephews who I'm really, really close to. Now, I could make it easier on myself as an uncle, and I could have one flat way of how I treat all of them because that makes it easy on me. You get the same treatment. But then I wouldn't be a good uncle because they're not looking for the same treatment. Each one of them has their own personality, has their own needs, wants, desires, their own favorite games, and everything. So you have to treat clients that same way. Each one of them wants something different. When I set up an Asana board, that's the framework. But how I report out on that Asana board for each client is going to be different because they have different needs, different ways they want to see the data, different ways they want to see tasks reported. So you have to be able to do that. And for me, that's the biggest skill to gain if you're going to have a successful agency is understanding how to talk to people differently in the way that they need.
Awesome. All right, jump in. Keep talking, Jamar. How has COVID impacted agencies? Do you feel like business is good, business is bad, business is the same? People are asking for different things.
Oh, I'm gonna try and reel myself in. I think, unfortunately, a lot of it has been the same, but I think within that, we've highlighted who the good to great agencies or personalities are. We're all starting to see who the bad or average ones are, and it's gotten better in that we are able to show clients, hey, this is what we were able to do. And even before all the impacts of COVID, like the ways that we thought about building our agency when we were first coming to it, like we started putting down our ideas into what we called our agency bible, how we wanted to react, our bill of rights, the
That's
types of
awesome.
clients, the types of clients and industries we wanted to go into, so we would never be at someone's behest. We would never be someone could hire and fire us. It was about, do we want to work with the client? Do they work with us? Are they going to make us not only, rewarded when it comes monetarily, but do we have that spiritual reward of being able to help an industry, being able to help a client that, believes in helping people, that they're not just taking advantage. So we don't want to work in, alcohol, not because we have something against alcohol, but just we don't want to be out there, pimping it and building it up and everything, because I don't like the way that they promote their brands a lot of the time. So I don't want to be a part of that because it's going to be their brand guidelines and you're going to have to follow that in order to get that client. And I'd rather say this is the way you could and should apply yourself and apply your brand versus, okay, this is how you want to do it. I've got to bite my own moral standing and say, okay, I'm going to do that. But there's all of us know who the bad actors are. And a lot of them are getting even more pub now because people are saying, oh, well, look at how this person is saying, and we've all got to do that. And it's like, no. So I know that the good agencies have been able to get a lot of rewards out of this because they've been doing the same thing over and over again. And their clients have seen this works. They've been telling me the same thing. They haven't changed. They haven't panicked. And the bad agencies are the ones who've had to panic, who've had to slash their prices a lot in order to keep their clients because they've locked them into 12-month contracts and people want to get out of it. So, long story short, I think that it's impacted the good agencies in a good way, and the bad ones, hopefully, they'll get pushed out a lot more.
Okay, Mike, do you agree?
Yeah. So for us, we haven't lost any clients because, we just happen to pick clients that are benefiting right now, like some of the big box retailers, some of the financial services companies that are seeing growth on the back of this. But it's really killed our new business pipeline, like going into or ending Q1, we had this huge pipeline and like all these things look good, and then all of a sudden it just evaporated. And because we've got some pretty good sales folks, and also, we do inbound marketing pretty well, we rebuilt the pipeline again in the beginning of Q2, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna make it, and then again, all that evaporated too. So things have kind of turned back on. Like people have identified a new equilibrium, and they're figuring out like, okay, we do need to spend this budget in order to be effective here. But I think that It's more companies that were more heavy on the paid side that were far more impacted than us, right? Like if you were doing paid search heavily and so on, you probably saw your budgets get slashed pretty dramatically, especially if you're in spaces like travel and hospitality and so on. But we haven't really been affected too heavily with respect to like existing accounts. It's just the new ones have slowed down.
Yeah.
And
I'll agree.
beyond that, I mean, I think that Jamar's point is absolutely spot on. You know, people that have held themselves to a higher regard, you know, and aren't really having to react so much. But if you do pouring pills and poker, obviously your life is a little different right now. And you know, if you've been doing great work, then more and more people are coming to you because like they want to spend that money and know that they're going to get the ROI. So we're starting to see a lot more of that happening as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't lost any clients, but we have had some pull back on budgets, and that's kind of a bummer. But they're all eager to get going again. They just don't have budgets that they used to, you know? It's a bummer. Abby, I know you're at a bigger agency, so you're less on the selling side, I'm guessing, but tell us your opinion here.
Yeah, I'm definitely more like focused on the day-to-day work, and obviously it's on a client-by-client basis. Travel clients need a little less help during this time. They're pulling back a little bit, but then also one of my main clients is a big health system, so they've needed a lot of help, and we have definitely not had any shortage of work these past couple of weeks. So business is good. It's just on a client-by-client basis based on what level of partnership they can afford right now. And I think just like the biggest impact has been on all of us as people, and we've all just been like trying to check in on each other, make sure we're staying sane, taking breaks, and not pushing ourselves too hard, but just enough to stay happy and healthy during all of this.
And would you say that the requests that you're getting have changed, or they've pretty much stayed the same? Do you have to do the same kind of work as you've always done, or is it a bit different?
Similar. I mean, I think a lot of clients are pushing forward. Some clients are like looking at this as a time to maybe like try new things, and definitely a lot of just reporting on changes and staying up to date, being agile, making sure we're communicating any updates to Google, especially with local and Google My Business. So yeah, just I think things are like moving a little bit faster, which I like. So it's been great.
That's nice. Yeah. All right. Any questions from the attendees? Anyone want to chime in with their experiences? Nobody? Here's your chance. All right. Question 3. What fun things is your agency working on, and is there anything you want to announce? Now, I want to give this one straight to Abby, not because I know you have an announcement, because I know you've been working a lot on Google Discover.
Yes.
And I want to hear about that, because to me, that counts as fun things. So tell us what you've been working on.
Yeah, that was actually a really fun project that started back in October of last year. We had a client who was interested in it, and they basically were just like, hey, I heard this thing called Google Discover. Can you tell me about it? And then I just kind of took it and ran with it. And I was like, well, I have all of this data from all these different clients and all these different industries, and we should just pull that all together. So basically, yeah, just like leveraging like one of the great things about being at an agency is you have access to a lot of different data from like a really diverse set of companies and websites. So pulled that together and basically just saw whatever insights I could find and did some research and published that a month or so ago on Search Engine Journal. And there's some really cool things. I mean, obviously it's mostly news, and that's what Discover is. It's a news feed, but there's some interesting findings on like really how targeted of content you can get based on your search, and how good Google is at really identifying people's unique interests and serving content. So really any industry, if they like discover like a way to connect to their users on an interest that Google can detect, then they can easily like maybe they're showing content and Discover to a smaller audience, but it's going to be a really relevant audience.
Oh, nice. Someone just shared the link to the article. Alexis did. Thank you, Alexis. That's cool. So what you're saying is you can get even more granular and more targeted, so the content creators are going to be busy.
Yeah, so I said in my article, like, focus on your most passionate user. Like, mine's all about plants and making crazy fertilizers because that's my new quarantine hobby. So that content can definitely like get to your target audience if it's specific enough and people have that interest.
Okay, Jamar, are you creating content for Google Discover yet?
No, unfortunately, with COVID, all of the clients that we had who were doing content, that's the part that they cut because that's always the biggest thing that people cut. It's like, oh, we don't need that newfangled content stuff when we have budget crunches. But the biggest thing our agency is working on that I find fun is our Crunchy Cares arm. So every quarter, not only do we as a company decide what we want to donate to, each one of us picks our own cause individually and donates money. And this is like, I always think, to whom much is given, much is expected. And also, as a Black man, I feel that doubly so. And it is imperative on me to always be finding places where I can reach back and I can whether that be time, whether that be money, whether that be a combination of both, to make sure that those people who may not have visibility, who may not have the abilities that I do, can still have those doors open for them and sometimes kicked open and off the hinges so they can all rush through and get the scope, get the visibility that they need. So for me, that's always the thing that we're working on. That's the most fun for me. It's always like, okay, what can I be looking out for? Who can we donate to that, no one else knows about, that we can then get them, some pub, that we can make sure that not only do we give them the money that people were sharing with on Twitter and on our blog and we're writing about them, they get amplified as well. So for me, that's the biggest thing that is a driver every quarter of, okay, we've got X amount of clients, we've got Y amount of disposable revenue. What Z places are we giving it to?
That's awesome. All right, Mike. What? Anything fun? Anything to announce? What's going on that you're working on that's exciting?
We just put a movie out.
Oh yeah, of course, your Moz Talk. That was
Yeah.
amazing. That's so exciting. So tell us the behind the scenes of creating the movie and the trailer, and how do you find the time to do things like that?
I mean, there was a lot of sleepless nights towards the end there because, of course, in standard Mike King fashion, I didn't turn anything in on time. So so obviously, okay, boom, with MozCon, you're supposed to turn things in like a month or two in advance, and I missed all those markers because I didn't want them to tell me not to make a movie. So they hit me up like a couple weeks out. They're like, "Hey, where's your deck?" I was like, "I'm not doing a deck. I'm making a movie." And so they were like, "Cool. Well, that's not what you're supposed to do." And I'm like, "All right, well, if you want to use it, that's fine. But I'm making a movie." And so I sent over the script like, I don't know, 2 weeks out, and they're like, "Oh wow, it's amazing. Can you pull it off?" And I'm like, "It's me. I'm gonna pull it off." So we pulled it off, but it was like, they were like, "You got to turn it in by 3 a.m. Tuesday morning on the 8th," and it was literally 2:59 and 59 seconds when I hit send on that email. But yeah, I mean, the behind the scenes was like, we've got a really awesome senior visual designer on our team, and I went to her. I was like, "Yo, we're doing MozCon this year is going to be this like virtual event," and I'm like, "Yo, I'm not really just trying to sit here and do a fancy webinar. Like, let's maximize this this medium. Like, let's make a movie." And so they came back with 3 different concepts, and they were like, "Yeah, this one is cool, this one is cool, but this one is really dope and it's gonna be the hardest to do." And I'm like, "Cool, let's do that one." And so it was a lot of late nights and just working around the clock to make it happen. And so the voice acting in it, it's me and it's our office manager who's also a singer who sings the first song when the movie starts and everything. So I just got a lot of really awesome creative talent on my team, and it was a good opportunity for us to just like get out of this bubble of doing SEO and content strategy stuff and doing something that we thought was really cool. So it was a lot of fun.
And is this something that you're going to be like selling as a service, or you just did it for funsies?
I mean, if somebody wants to pay for it, sure, we can do more of it. But I just, it was really just because I thought it would be the best way to present something in a pre-recorded environment that was virtual. Because I think we're all doing a ton of free webinars and so on. Like that's what this is effectively. And I wanted to do something different because to me, MozCon was always like the Super Bowl of SEO conferences. So I was like, all right, well, let's figure out a way to level up here. And that's what we did.
And is there a blooper reel that's going to go on YouTube?
No. Yeah, so Marcus asked me, he was like, yo, are there like any like what's it called, Easter eggs? I was like, yo, it was such a struggle to just get it done on time. Like I didn't do any of that. But I think what we're gonna do moving forward, because we've been planning out building out like a training platform, and we're thinking of using all the characters from the movie and making the training platform like a game, so you learn SEO through playing a game. So that's one of the things that the team is trying to figure out to like extrapolate from this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it should be fun.
All right, next question is dun dun dun. Who should we give this to? So let's go. I'm just going up and down. So Jamar, so this is similar to the last thing, but do you have any like secret passions in SEO that you personally like get lost thinking about, or that have been really helpful for any of your clients?
Honestly, we're starting to do a little bit more data visualization. And so I know both of my business partners have, tiptoed around the idea of us learning Python. And the way that they've tiptoed has made it very obvious that if I'm the one who learns Python, it'll go forward. But if I don't learn Python, it's just going to be stuck in the grass still. So that I think is going to be my next big project, is to try and figure out how to learn all that to help our SEO reporting a lot more, because I know there's things that I should know about the data that I don't yet. And so I want to break that open, not just for myself, but for the clients to be able to report on stuff that they're not even thinking about yet, that could truly help them and take them from being, just another name in the space to someone who's at the tip top, because they're really looking at the granular data and making good business decisions.
Okay. Abby, when you're not thinking about homemade fertilizer, what are you thinking about in the SEO game? Anything secret SEO passions?
I think something I've been really big on for a really long time is Power BI and playing around with that. Also getting to learn more about Google Data Studio. I think data visualization, like you said, anything you can automate reporting is awesome. Yeah, I definitely love Power BI. That's a big one. And I think now the focus is kind of trying to get re-energized into passion projects. I think for a while it was just like, I do what I can and like don't stress myself out too much. These are tough times for everyone. But recently, yeah, I think I've been getting more excited about future projects, and we've been doing some fun things on our team. Like we did an exercise the other week where we all just broke out for 2 hours and just learned about something, like anything that you don't feel like you're maybe as confident in any area of SEO. And then we just kind of presented it to each other. So just kind of like learning in general and trying to get that energy back.
That's fun. So is it like a lunch and learn?
It was just like maybe 5 people, and it's just like, oh, what's some area of SEO that you've been meaning to dive a little deeper in, and then just give a 5-minute presentation.
Very cool. All right, Mike, I know you've been busy with your video, but any other kind of new focuses or places you get lost in SEO?
Yeah, there's 2 places I've been doing a lot of stuff as of late. The first one being natural language generation, so playing with libraries like GPT-3 and all of that.
That's the next question.
Oh, sorry. And just lots and lots of automation so that we can be more efficient across the organization. So, I've been a kind of a late adopter of AppScript and also just like the Google Suite environment in general, like Google Docs and slides and everything. So, I'm just trying to make a lot of the things that people shouldn't be spending a bunch of time doing, like copying, pasting things into deliverables and just making that like you press one button and it's done, so you can focus on the insights and the layers of analysis that are valuable to spend your time on. So we've been doing a lot of like, transitioning to using BigQuery for things and just writing a lot of app script to make it all work together.
Nice. And where are you learning this? Is it all self-taught, or are you doing online classes or just code libraries or what?
Yeah, I'm just like reading the documentation and writing the code.
Yeah. Okay. That's easy. I suppose. You've got plenty of time, I suppose.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my two children give me all the time to write the code.
All right, anyone else in the audience, any of the attendees want to jump in with the things that they're obsessing over, focusing on, the rabbit holes that they're going down?
So Jamar, if Python looks like it's just not making sense to you, like Python just doesn't make sense to me. R, you can do a lot of the same stuff, and for me, it was way easier to learn.
Thank you, BJ. I appreciate you joining. Just to let everyone know, every time BJ opens his mouth, I learn something new. So please keep opening your mouth.
Except it was the first time it was me insulting J.R. Oaks and a bunch of other people by calling Raleigh a tier 2 city.
Oh, I mean, you're not wrong.
My God, every time I see him pop up on Twitter, that's what comes to my mind. And it takes me 5 minutes to stop crying.
BJ,
Wow.
What have you been focusing on?
I've been focusing on the transition to being the in-house person, in addition to running a little bit of consultancy stuff. But I've gotten really big into using Data Studio and Facebook Profit and R for some forecasting stuff that's come through there. That my biggest challenge has been that on the agency side, it was somebody who came to us knowing what they wanted to do. And they knew that they were hiring an SEO company or a consultant to improve X, Y, and Z. With this, I have one other person in this entire organization who even understands remotely what I do. So I have a board of directors that I have to answer to and explain to them in very basic terms of, hey, yes, I need $150,000 this year to do X, Y, and Z, and this is why. And so totally changing the way that I approach and focus and how I explain what I do for a living. And then at the same time, getting these questions of, well, what's the ROI in this? Be like, I don't know. Alt image tags are just a good idea. We should just do them. And
So
creating...
You're living between both worlds. You're a little bit in-house and a little bit agency. So do you see a big difference, or is it same old, same old?
It's same book, just different page. It's instead of explaining to a client what I'm doing, I'm explaining to some stakeholders. And what I've found is Data Studio has been life-changing in the sense of there is no more, and I do it for clients too, reporting is now continuous. You don't get this giant monthly report from me. We're going to build this real-time dashboard, and it's on you to look at these metrics now. And then we're going to get together and talk all the time. And we should all be on that same page. And I'm hoping that what I've been going down this rabbit hole on R and Profit and these other things, that's going to add a new element where we can say, hey, our goal is to tackle this subset of the search universe. And if we do A, here's an idea of what should happen on the other end.
That's awesome.
Might work, might explode in my face. I don't know. We'll find out.
Any of the other attendees want to jump in and tell us what you've been focusing on? Going. I'll jump in and say we've been doing a bunch of development and launches on our tools, which is exciting and stressful. But we've also just been messing around a lot with what we can do in YouTube. and trying to think about what is the opportunity from a short video perspective, a long video perspective, a technical video perspective, and how can we kind of make those videos work really hard for us. And that's sometimes working and sometimes not. But for instance, like I had this revelation actually a little over maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that like I spend all this time doing these presentations at conferences, and then only people who pay to attend the conference get to see it. And then I am expected to do a new one. And that started pissing me off. So, I made the goal to record every single, it was starting, I guess it was my New Year's resolution for 2019, and I've continued it into 2020, that I don't do a deck. I don't do a slide deck anywhere unless I also put it on YouTube as a recorded video, because I put so much effort into the decks. And because like I'm just a walking crop circle. People who've known me for a long time, like tech just breaks around me. So like on stages or whatever, the mic goes out, the slides go out, and then I've put all the effort into the deck, and I'm like standing on stage sweating and pissed off. But if I do it at home and I record it, that's a more controlled environment. So I get a little, so I can publish the version that I want.
I'm still stuck on the walking crop circle.
It's the truth. You've witnessed it. I know.
Now that I think about it, I've seen it break around you many times. You're right. In many different countries, circumstances, I've seen it break around you.
It's because I'm also, here's a little secret adding to the crop circle theory. I can feel magnets. Like magnets give me headaches and make me feel sick, which is like superpower. Yeah. So I'm a walking something that's not normal.
I got nothing.
Actually, the magnet thing. All right, we're going to the next question. Did we get everyone on this question? Yeah, we did. All right, bonus. This one was just for you, Mike, because I knew you were working on it, and I wanted you to explain it and then talk to everyone else about how they're seeing it, and pros and cons. Do we think it's here to stay? Is it cool and new, or just trendy?
Well, I think you may have more control over GPT-3 than the rest of us because you feel magnets, but it is an amazing technology. It's the latest iteration on this like text generation technology built by Elon Musk's team called OpenAI. And the way it works is they basically trained it on a large portion of the Common Crawl. So they've trained it on what they're calling 175 billion parameters. And that's effectively like 155 billion word relationships. And the way that it works is it's like you give it a prompt of some kind, and then it can predict what the next word is based on that prompt. So it's really good at writing copy that is virtually indistinguishable by humans from something that an actual human had written. So the difficulty with it is that it can get facts wrong because, again, it's trained on the open web. But beyond that, like, it's just really good at writing. And GPT-3 is it's just so far superior to anything that came before it. People are doing things like you just give it a prompt and you're like, yo, write me a script where these actors have this story arc and blah, blah, blah. And it'll do it. And it'll be like, you'll be like, yo, this took 2 seconds and I just got to make a couple edits. And now this is actually a viable product. So the implications from my perspective are that, all the BS tasks that we used to do or are still doing really, around doing things like writing copy for e-commerce category pages or writing meta descriptions or whatever, all these things that, probably you shouldn't be using a human to do, you can actually do programmatically now in a way where all you got to do is get an editor to spend like, a half hour on something rather than a couple hours on writing something. So I don't think that it completely supplants writers. I think it just allows us to generate first drafts a lot faster than in higher quality than if you would have used like Text Broker or Writer Access or something like that. And so I saw Alexis's question, like, how do you get it into the pipeline? Well, right now, technically, you shouldn't get it into the pipeline because GPT-3 is just in beta. And, you can, of course, plug it into your production environment if you want, but you have to get it approved before you do that. And because it's just an API, like the workflow is basically whatever you want it to be, right? Like, let's say you're like, we want to generate, 500 pages. Well, your workflow should look like, all right, generate the pages, have it automatically placed into like Google Docs or something like that, or whatever your CMS is. And then someone edits it, then it's approved, and then you push it live. And then you should be good to go. But my fear is that SEOs are going to SEO and they're just going to like use it like a standard content spinner and then make a million pages and be like, why doesn't my SEO work?
I think Abby's going to do that for the focused content for Google Discover. Abby? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Sorry, what was the question? I was like in a trance listening to Mike talk about this. Yeah, let's not make 1,000 random pages.
That SEOs are going to use GPT-3 to make more and more focused content that might or might not have quality signals that are good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely edit it first and make sure you're researching based
SEO
on your
SEO.
needs. Yeah.
Yeah, SEO is true. Focused content, though.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's just a lot of cool things people are doing with it, and there's like, if you just Google, or not even Google, look on Twitter for GPT-3, and you see some of the things that people have been doing. It's like completely mind blowing. And we're playing with it, trying to figure out how far we can take it, what we can do with it. We're actually testing it out on our own site. We're going to spin up a SEO glossary. And one of the key things that you can do, and just to be clear, GPT-2 is still amazing. GPT-3 is just a whole nother level. So what you can do with this technology is you can fine tune it by giving it a bunch of content that you or your brand or company or whatever or competitor have written, so that it's even more focused on whatever it is that you're talking about. So in this case, with our glossary, we basically just scraped a bunch of SEO glossaries and Maz's beginner's guide, and then we're giving it a list of words and we're saying, write a glossary for us. So we're going to see how that turns out and how well it ranks.
We have a video glossary, so we're going to be competing. I've done short video definitions of all of the big terms.
Well, Cindy, you've always been smarter than me, so I'm sure you're going to beat me.
Oh no, I'm a crop circle. I can't possibly be smarter than you. I just break things. I walk around and break things. It's like being Facebook, but not. Jamar, are you doing anything with GPT-3, or do you have any plans, or do you have any other natural language things going on?
Natural language, no, but now hearing Mike talk about it, like I've got a bunch of stuff that just pinged in the back of my head that I'm going to be utilizing this for, especially because we just recently hired on an intern to help us with some of the lower level SEO tasks. But I think like this would be great to hook him up with. So when it comes to like alt image text, when it comes to, title tags and meta descriptions, getting him to utilize this and finding the way to use this best for our clients would be great, because that'll automate some of that knucklehead stuff that'll give us the ability to do some higher level strategizing instead of, oh, well, here's title tag 1 and here's title tag 2. And 3 days later, I'm ready to claw my eyes out with a spoon.
Hey, just keep Cindy around. She can pull the spoon away with her hands.
It's a protective thing sometimes. Yeah. We haven't done anything with GPT-3, but we have been playing a lot with natural language, and I'll give you guys a little hack. We sometimes work with app companies optimizing apps for ASO, but also to rank in the app packs. And Dee, who's on with us, had the brilliant idea of putting app descriptions through the natural language API to see what the top app descriptions looked like in the natural language API versus what the client description that wasn't ranking the way they wanted it to look like. And then by tweaking the app description to have the same characteristics in the natural language API, we moved from not in the top 100 to 36, I think, to eventually 17. So yeah, I think natural language API and stuff like that is coming into things a lot more. So yeah.
That exact same tactic works in the standard organic search too. We do the same thing. Basically, like we pull all the rankings and pull, like, basically scrape those pages, run them through name entity recognition, and then look to see what the common things are that they have that our page doesn't, and then add them, and then it just pops up in the rankings like super quick.
Yeah. Abby, are you guys?
And using the natural language API actually make a difference of how they categorize specific entity in that specific sentence. And this is what is the thin line of do you rank or do you not?
Abby, anything to add to natural language? Are you guys using the API?
Not yet, but I know what I'm doing this weekend, learning about that. Yeah, we'll have to start.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm sure some people are, just not me personally. We have a big team, and there's always someone doing a cool project somewhere.
Well, and it's cool too, in the natural language API, you can see how they parse sentences. And so you can say, it'll show you this is the noun and this is the verb and this adjective describes this, and it draws lines between that, and then it does it in all the languages. So you can easily, I think it took seeing that for some people that I talked to really understand how entity first indexing might actually be a thing. Where it's saying like these relationships exist in sentences and in the larger macro sphere, and Google can map them easily, and they have. So yeah, that's cool. All right, anyone else want to chime in with GPT knowledge, drop a knowledge bomb? BJ, got thoughts here?
No, I haven't done anything with it yet, but I'm sitting here looking at it right now. I've got a side project with 25,000 URLs, and the idea of writing meta descriptions for all of them is sucking my will to live. And so I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, I need even just trying GPT-2 on it this weekend, something where I can automate all of that would be amazing.
Yeah, and there's Hamlet Batista has a blog post about generating meta descriptions. You should check that one out too.
I will do that.
Yeah, that's super sweet. Alexis, any questions, any thoughts on GPT-3? You want to chime in?
I think Alexis dropped. We actually have a client call to get to.
Oh, did you? All right. Well, then we better wrap up this roundtable. I want to thank you all very, very much for showing up, for participating, for dropping some amazing knowledge, and for tolerating the temporary Google Meet bomber and the Michael Jackson, although I like Michael Jackson. So.
I got the same birthday as Michael Jackson.
Nice.
I'm darker. I have the same birthday as Kurt Cobain.
Ooh.
Wow. Wow. On that note, new Beyonce's out. Check it out. I'm out.
You guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Later.
Bye.
Again, thank you so much.
If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. To be notified about future videos, click the logo. And to try the MobileMoxie mobile SEO toolset, use the promo code YouTube to get 30 days free. They're mobile-first SEO tools for a mobile-first world.